A lot of developing news this morning as we are hearing a lot has flipped today, February the 5th, 2025. As yesterday we shared with you that with all the tariffs that are taking place between the United States and China, that we had heard the United States Postal Service was going to stop receiving certain packages from Hong Kong. Well, that has all flipped this morning, and we're hearing we're still potentially on the path for a trade war. But take a look at this coming out today. Postal Service to resume accepting packages from China, Hong Kong. So if you've been waiting for packages from China, you have a subscription, looks like it's still going to be on the way. I'm going to share with you the latest information coming out and take a look. U.S. Postal Service flip-flops on the Hong Kong China packages, lifting a ban imposed a day earlier. Now, I'm also going to be sharing with you what they're saying as we are still on this path for massive tariffs that are going to be coming and what's going to be impacted. As it says, fast fashion, laptops, and toys are likely to cost more due to U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports. And also, we heard just moments ago, if you missed it, this morning, February the 5th, Representative Al Green is filing new impeachment articles against Donald Trump. Also, take a look at this. Trump slapped with his first credible impeachment threat in his second term. It says, so we are hearing that right now Donald Trump is getting articles of impeachment filed against him. And also there is about to be a trade war essentially that could unfold here as we are seeing tariffs being slapped on back and forth. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, in addition to that, I also just got a notification that there was a lag in the streaming software. Can you still hear me and see me okay? Let me know in the comments. Drop a 5x5 if you can hear me and see me. And so I'll just go through these headlines once again, just in case I lost you guys. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me and see me okay, because I just got a notification that the streaming software had an issue here for just a second. Let me see. I am not seeing anybody responding in the comments, so I'm just going to run through these one more time just in case I lost people. So again, this morning, a lot of developing news. We're hearing that the Postal Service is going to be resuming accepting packages from China and Hong Kong in a reversal, as yesterday we had heard that they were not going to be having that, but it has changed this morning. Additionally, the U.S. Postal Service flip-flops on Hong Kong China packages, lifting a ban imposed a day earlier. So if you have subscriptions or packages from China that you were waiting on, they are now, as of this morning, going to be on their way, even though yesterday we had heard they weren't. So things are changing very quickly this morning. It's going to be impacting, they said, fast fashion, laptops, and toys are likely going to be costing more due to the U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports. So just to clarify, the tariffs are still in place. We are still potentially on path for a trade war unless Xi Jinping and Donald Trump can come to some sort of resolution. But packages are still being delivered. And as I mentioned moments ago, Representative Al Green, we're hearing, is filing new impeachment articles against Donald Trump today, February the 5th, less than an hour ago. Trump slapped with his first credible impeachment threat in his second term. So this breaking news coming out just a little while ago. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest so you know exactly what is going on. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Make sure that everything is going. Let me see. Let me just make sure your feed is glitching, somebody said. Is it still doing okay? Audio is cutting out. Let me go ahead and see if I can fix it. Audio problem, Steve. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, somebody's saying if you go out and you come back in, that will help fix the audio. Why don't you go ahead and try that? Let me know if that helps. Let me just double check here. Let me see how it looks. But in the meantime, try jumping out and jumping back in, and let me know if that helps. We're going to go ahead and dive in just a second. Let me just see if I can hear the audio here. But in the meantime, try jumping out and jumping back in, and let me know if that helps. All right, yeah, try that because I think I had some streaming issues. So maybe try exiting out of the video and then jump back into the video. I'll stay live, but it looks like on my end here, I just jumped back in and it looks like it's doing good. Yeah, somebody's saying refresh it. So just go ahead and refresh it or exit out of the video and then jump back in, and then that should fix it. Okay, people are saying it's working good now. Yes. Okay, excellent. Great. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. And I did see it as soon as I started. I saw that my streaming software that I'm using gave me a notification that there was some sort of issue, and then now it looks like it is working good. So, technical issues, but we are back on track there. Thank you guys. Sorry about that. Technology, you got to deal with it sometimes, but you can't live without it. So, all right. So, and also do me a favor, if you appreciate the updates, before we dive in, take a quick second, hit that like button for me, help spread this out further so more people can get the latest updates. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free, why not? And these articles are going to be linked in the description below, so that way you can have access to all of them with hyperlinks and get the latest information. You can rest assured and know that this is the latest coming out. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's dive into some of these articles, and I'm going to get you the information here of what is going on. So yesterday we had heard that if you were getting packages from China and whatnot, that you might not be getting it anymore. I saw a lot of people talking about, what is it, their Temu or their Shein or something like that. They weren't going to be getting them. Well, that has now reversed. We're hearing that things are back on track with the the USPS and the Postal Service and China. So let's go ahead and take a look at this update here. It says the U.S. Postal Service announced it will resume accepting packages from China and Hong Kong, reversing course after saying that it would not take in parcels following newly imposed tariffs on China. The Postal Service said in a Wednesday notice, so this coming out today, that it will continue accepting all international inbound mail and packages from China and Hong Kong posts. The service added it was working closely with Customs and Borders Protection to implement an efficient collection mechanism for new Chinese tariffs to ensure the least disruption to package delivery. Now, the U-turn came after the Postal Service said on Tuesday yesterday that it would pause accepting parcels from China and Hong Kong until further notice, as the Trump administration's tariffs against Beijing went into effect just after midnight on Tuesday. So we saw those take effect yesterday, February the 4th, and then we saw China respond back and say that on the 10th, there is going to be 15% tariffs imposed on the United States. And a lot of people are saying this could be the first phase, the first steps into a trade war between China and the United States as tariffs are being imposed. Now, we saw these kind of get paused between the U.S. and Mexico and then the U.S. and Canada. But the ones for China, they are still in place right now. And we're hearing unless there is some sort of agreement reached, we're going to be seeing prices go up, and we could be entering potentially into a trade war. Now, on Saturday, President Donald Trump signed tariffs against Canada, Mexico, China, three biggest U.S. trading partners. It imposed a 10% tariff on goods coming from China. Tariffs against Mexico and Canada, which were set to be 25%, were called off after Trump spoke with the leaders of both countries on Monday. Beijing responded Tuesday, retaliating with a set of sweeping tariffs impacting critical elements, including oil, coal, and natural gas. It set a 15% tariff on liquefied natural gas and coal, along with a 10% one on crude oil, agricultural machinery, and pickup trucks. Now, Trump's tariffs on China included ending the de minimis trade loophole, which permitted shipping packages that are worth less than $800 without paying tax. China's e-commerce company Temu and Shein could be affected by the tariffs. Now, the number of shipments coming to the United States that requested the de minimis exemption went up by more than 600%, going from around 139 million in 2015 to more than 1.36 billion during fiscal year 2024, according to the CBP data. Now, the de minimis value increased from $200 to $800 in late 2016 with the rise of e-commerce businesses and more low-value packages entering into the country. So we're hearing that these have resumed. They are back on track if you are waiting for some sort of shipment from China. But this is a reversal that we saw as yesterday. We heard them say they were not going to be accepting them. Now today, they say they are. Here's another one from the Associated Press. The U.S. Postal Service flip-flops on the Hong Kong-China packages, lifting a ban imposed a day earlier. Now, this article reads, the U.S. Postal Service is reversing course a day after placing a ban on all inbound packages from China and Hong Kong. The post office had announced Tuesday that it would no longer accept parcels from the China and Hong Kong after the U.S. imposed an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods and ended a customs exemption that allowed small value parcels to enter the U.S. without paying tax. The Postal Service reversed course Wednesday today, but gave no reason. It said that it would work with Customs and Border Protection to implement a collection process for the new China tariffs to avoid delivery disruptions. The post office pointed to the short prepared statement on the reversal when asked for more details about the reversal Wednesday by the Associated Press. The ban had the potential to create massive disruptions for online shopping platforms like Shein and Temu, popular with younger shoppers in the U.S. for cheap clothing and other products, usually shipped directly from China. Cheap direct postal service helps these companies keep costs low, as did the de minimis exemption that previously allowed shipments to go tax-free if their value was under $800. The suspension by the USPS would have likely have created delays in shipments and potentially higher prices for the companies that rely on rock-bottom pricing for huge sales. So there you have it. We're hearing that it is back on. Now, what are the items that are going to be impacted by these that are taking place? I've got some video footage here. We're going to be discussing this as well in this article. But let's take a look at this right here from the Associated Press. Then I'm going to play for you the video footage. And then also, as I mentioned, we're going to take a look at this just coming out. Articles of impeachment have just been filed against Donald Trump moments ago. But first, fast fashion, laptops, toys. These are likely going to be costing more due to the U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports. This article says a sweeping new U.S. tariff on products made in China is expected to increase the prices American consumers pay for a wide array of products, from the ultra-cheap apparel sold online with online shopping platforms to toys and electronic devices such as computers and cell phones. An additional 10% tariff on all Chinese goods took effect a day after President Donald Trump agreed to pause his threatened tariffs against Mexico and Canada for 30 days. The delay followed negotiations on Trump's demand for the North American nations to take steps to reduce illegal immigration and the flow of drugs such as fentanyl into the United States. After failing to get similar White House reprieve, China struck back by saying that it would impose retaliatory tariffs on some U.S. goods as of next week. The sheer volume and variety of the China-made merchandise sold in the United States means the prices of many typical inexpensive items probably will tick higher if the tit-for-tat tariffs persist. These are some of the products most likely to be impacted. Electronics, home supplies, and car parts. The U.S. imported about $427 billion worth of goods from China in 2023, the most recent year with complete data, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Consumer electronics, including cell phones, computers, and other tech accessories, make up the biggest import categories. China is a dominant production engine for tech gear, including for American companies like Apple that have their products assembled in that country. Now, in 2023, China accounted for 78% of the U.S. smartphone imports and 79% of laptops and tablets that are imported, the Consumer Technology Association trade group reported. The tariffs also may affect how much consumers pay for typically inexpensive clothing, shoes, and kitchen items like pots and pans, as well as big-ticket items such as appliances, furniture, and auto parts. Jay Salata, 43, who runs his own auto repair shop in Detroit, said that he bought some pieces of equipment sooner than he might have, anticipating that they would cost more if Trump implemented his campaign promise to use import tariffs as a tool to promote U.S. manufacturing. I knew the costs were going to be going up, and these are manufactured in China, he said, of a probe test light he purchased before Tuesday's tariffs went into effect. Low-cost apparel and accessories. In addition to imposing a new tariff on Chinese imports, Trump's executive order also suspended a little-known customs exemption that allowed goods worth less than $800 to come into the United States duty-free. The order left open the possibility for the loophole to still be used with shipments from other countries. The trade rule, known as de minimis, has existed for nearly a century. It came under great scrutiny in recent years due to the rapidly growing number of low-cost items from China coming into the United States tax-free, mainly from prominent online retailers such as Shein, Temu, and Alibaba's AliExpress. In response to Trump's actions, the U.S. Postal Service announced late Tuesday that it would stop accepting parcels sent from China and Hong Kong until further notice. However, the USPS quickly reversed course, saying Wednesday today that it was working with Customs and Border Protection to implement a collection process for the new China tariffs to prevent delivery disruptions. Former President Joe Biden's administration proposed a crackdown in September on the exemption that allowed small value parcels to enter the U.S. without paying tax. The proposed rules did not take effect before Biden left office. China-founded Shein and Temu have gained global popularity by offering a quickly updated assortment of ultra-inexpensive clothes, accessories, gifts, and gadgets shipped mostly from China, allowing the two e-commerce companies to compete on the home turf of American companies. Seattle-based Amazon is trying to compete with them through an online storefront that mimics their business model by offering cheap products shipped directly from China. Chinese exports of low-value packages soared to $66 billion in 2023, up from $5.3 billion in 2018, according to a report released last week by the Congressional Research Service. In the U.S., Temu and Shein comprise about 17% of the discount market for fast fashion, toys, and other consumer goods, the report said. So how much are prices going to be going up? It's unclear. Under de minimis, Shein, Temu, and AliExpress could bypass taxes collected by customs authorities. But under the changes effective on Tuesday, company shipments from China will now be subject to existing duties plus the new 10% tariff imposed by Trump, analysts said. The vast majority of these orders are valued less than $800, which means all or virtually all of them are going to get caught in that, said Squally, an analyst from Truist Financial. Now, also, Kaza Kenna, founder of the e-commerce intelligence firm Marketplace Pulse, said that he thinks that the price increases on platforms like Shein and Temu, they will be pretty small, and that the products that they sell will remain cheap. However, the rule change is likely to result in delivery delays since the packages now have to go through customs, he said. Now, the new tariffs will also hit third-party sellers on Amazon that import products from China, according to Squally. He expects sellers to eat some of the costs and pass the rest on to consumers, which he thinks could result in percentage price increases in mid-single digits. Other e-commerce sites that host businesses such as Etsy are also going to be impacted, he said. Temu, which is owned by China's PDD Holdings, has previously said that its growth did not depend on the de minimis policy. Though most of its products are shipped from China, Temu has been recruiting Chinese merchants to store inventory in the United States, a move that experts said would allow it to not be as exposed to changes around the trade rules. In January, China also introduced measures to help cross-border e-commerce build overseas warehousing by offering them tax rebates or tax exemptions. So what are U.S. retailers saying about this? Well, the day after November's U.S. presidential election, Brianne Olsen, CEO of teen clothing chain PacSun, went to Hong Kong to meet with factory executives to figure out ways to prepare for Trump's tariff plans. Roughly 35 to 40% of PacSun's garments are made in China, even as the chain has accelerated moves to diversify with suppliers in countries like Cambodia and Vietnam. But Olsen said that Trump's 10% tariffs on Chinese goods was less extreme than the company anticipated. For now, PacSun doesn't plan to increase prices on its products or move its manufacturing of knitwear and denim out of China. Toys are another category of consumer products that rely heavily on imports from China. Greg Ahern, a president and CEO of the Toy Association trade group, said that he thinks toy companies that source in China are going to absorb the cost of the new tariff in the short term. Eventually, those price hikes, they will be moved onto the consumer, he said. So there you have it. Those are some of the items that we're hearing are going to be increasing, as well as we are hearing that there are the trade wars that are taking place, or that are potentially going to be taking place. The first phase right now, we are seeing tariffs being slapped back and forth between the U.S. and China. And if you think that we're going to be entering into a trade war, Drop a 1 in the comments if you think that Xi Jinping and Donald Trump are going to come to some sort of an agreement. Put a 2 if you think we're going to be able to stave off a potential trade war. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, while you drop those 1s and 2s, also don't forget, take a quick second if you haven't done so yet. Hit that like button, helps out the channel a ton. But we're hearing there have been reversals today with the United States Postal Service. But let's go ahead and take a look at some video footage here that's going to be sharing with us what is going on with all of these trade wars, so that way you can see it for yourself. And as I mentioned, they might discuss about how the Postal Service is stopping this, but just a little while ago, earlier this morning, we heard that has changed. So keep that in mind if these reports mention that.
China announced retaliatory tariffs on some U.S. products Tuesday, shortly after the Trump administration's 10% tariff on Chinese imports came into effect. The tariffs are set to begin on Monday, February 10th. As you can see, the highest of those target coal and liquefied natural gas. Beijing also announced it would launch an antitrust investigation into Google. President Trump said he is in, quote, no rush to speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping, despite earlier reports the two would speak today. U.S. tariffs on products from Mexico and Canada were also set to go into effect Tuesday, but that's paused for now for at least 30 days after leaders from both nations promised to crack down on border security and drug trafficking. CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is here with us in studio. So, Kelly, some have speculated that this could be the beginning of a trade war with China. If true, what would that mean?
So I would say that this is the first parting shots, if you will, the first battle. Whether it turns into a trade war, we'll have to see. But I do want to remind us all that we have seen the Biden administration and China also exchange barbs over the last few years. So this is more of a continuation, just more the first part for this administration, this new administration. What that could mean, though, is really pain on both sides. A trade war means higher prices for Americans, higher prices for Chinese companies and Chinese citizens. It also means a tougher time for American companies to sell their goods over there. I will highlight one big impact from the last trade war under the first Trump administration. The agricultural industry lost $27 billion. And farmers,
the U.S. agriculture industry who export to China.
Yes, because China said, you know what? We're slapping retaliatory tariffs on. We're not going to buy your corn. We're not going to buy your soybean. And the U.S. government had to provide a lot of aid for those farmers. So that's just one example of something that we could see happen.
Is agriculture something that's been targeted yet, or that's potential? That's what you're watching for?
Not yet. Okay. That's a big one that we're watching. They did target farming equipment, but that's different.
Okay, let's talk about the two sides then. How big of an impact will this have on U.S. businesses and consumers that import and use Chinese products, but also on the flip side, how will this impact American businesses that export to China?
Okay,
so the retaliatory tariffs.
Exactly. Let's start with the imports.
Yes.
You're going to see higher prices. It is only a 10% tariff. We were originally looking at something like a 60 or 100% tariff. You're, as a consumer, going to see a price increase, but not that full 10%, because the company may decide to carry some of that on their own books versus pass it fully down to us. For these companies, they now have to decide, should they try and source other places? Should they try and build manufacturing capabilities there? There's a lot of decisions to be made. You also asked about the companies that sell to China. The retaliatory tariffs that were put on today, I would not say that they have much bite, a little bit. They targeted industries that the U.S. doesn't sell a lot. We don't sell a ton of crude oil to China. I'm not saying nothing. We don't sell a ton of farming equipment. What we're kind of feeling from the analysts that I've been talking to is China wanted to strike back, but also realized they are in an economically tough situation on their own end, and they didn't want to raise prices a ton for their consumers.
So how is the stock market reacting? We always kind of finish with that. We know the stock market's not the economy, but
so
something you still track.
Look, it was up today, okay? NASDAQ, not so much. That was more of an earnings thing, so we'll kind of put that over there. But investors saw, okay, the retaliatory tariffs were not that bad, and we don't have those Canadian-Mexican ones yet, and they're happy about that.
What are you watching for next?
Well, what does is Trump and Xi going to talk? I mean, that's, I think, a big one. And then what happens in 30 days with those Canadian-Mexican ones?
Right. Okay.
There you have it, you guys. So we are waiting to see what's going to be happening in 30 days. As she mentioned, are we going to be seeing tariffs applied with Canada and Mexico? And also, are we going to be seeing some sort of agreement reached between China? We're going to be seeing here, because we're hearing on the 10th, they're going to start implementing tariffs on the U.S., China striking back. So we're going to see how things unfold here. Now, in addition to that, let's go ahead and get a little bit more information on this, as we are hearing that Trump and Xi Jinping, they're going to be meeting here, but Trump said that he is in no rush to meet with him. And but we are going to see here, because if they do not meet and there is not an agreement, we're going to start seeing these tariffs applied to both nations. Now, we're hearing the U.S. ones started yesterday, U.S. against China. Now, China against the U.S. is going to be starting on the 10th. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video footage so that way you can get some more updates as to what is going on here.
Welcome back. Well, the U.S. Postal Service says it will stop accepting shipments from China and Hong Kong after President Trump imposed new tariffs on Beijing and closed a loophole that allows companies to avoid tariffs if they ship packages less than $800 directly to U.S. consumers. China fired back with retaliation on U.S. Tariffs on U.S. natural gas imports, oil, agricultural, machinery, and certain vehicles. It is also launching an investigation into Google over alleged antitrust violations. President Trump was asked yesterday when he'll speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping about all of this. Watch.
We'll speak to him at the appropriate time. I'm in no rush. At the appropriate time.
Do you think that conversation can lend itself to the type of freeze that it meant for the tariffs for Canada and
Well,
Mexico?
we'll see what happens.
Joining me now is Fox News contributor, Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow for China Strategy, Michael Pillsbury. Michael, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. First, give us your take on this tariff situation. And now the Postal Office not going to accept packages from China or Hong Kong.
Maria, I would call this round one. You remember in the first term, President Trump took about 2 years to really unleash the toughest sanctions against China. There were 13 rounds. Delegations flying back and forth, texts being exchanged, amendments being made. This is a long story, more than 2 years of Mr. Trump very patiently bringing the Chinese around. Then they didn't honor the agreement at all, and Biden let him get away with it. So I would call this the very early phase. And I think Peter Navarro was quite correct yesterday when he told you this is a trade war. I think you did invent the phrase drug war as opposed to trade war. I misspoke. I meant to say it's a drug war.
Right.
So this is a very early phase. There's a lot more tough measures that President Trump can start working on. But right now it seems to be all in China's court. This phone call from Xi Jinping could really change things in one direction or another. That he wants to cooperate on the drug war. He wants to have joint operations with the FBI and the Drug Enforcement Administration. He wants to really crack down on the criminals, or if Xi Jinping keeps playing dumb, Maria. This seems to be the Chinese strategy. It's a term they use called Hutu. It's easy to learn a little Mandarin. Hutu or Nanda-Hutu means to play dumb and say, well, I don't know anything about these cartels in Mexico. It's none of our business. If Xi Jinping goes with that approach in the phone call, then I would predict really strong measures by Mr. Trump to get their attention. Well, on the other hand, if he's positive,
yep,
that's much better news for the stock market.
Well, I mean, look, it's so much, undermining of the United States. So the overall policy coming out of the United States is expected to change. I mean, U.S. agencies are suspending China's DeepSeek, as it could be the CCP's latest weapon for spying on American citizens. I spoke with military software officer Nicholas Chilean about this last week. Here's what he said. Watch. And you say that DeepSeek is the next CCP-sponsored weapon after TikTok. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. I was the first government official to call for the ban of TikTok. And what you see now is the CCP using the data collected with TikTok to now use this to train their AI models, of course, with the baked-in bias that the CCP wants to push across the world. And so, as you can see now, this new app that's been downloaded now, hundreds of millions of times, is the next weapon for the CCP to be able to control not only information, but also disinformation. We're not going to win this war against the CCP if we don't partner together. And, that goes also with XAI from Elon Musk and OpenAI working together to now have a united fight against the CCP.
Michael, your thoughts on DeepSeek?
Well, I think he's correct. And I think the idea that the Biden team started, but they failed, was to have talks on artificial intelligence. The worst case is we don't want artificial intelligence to get into the nuclear weapons control system. There's been discussions about that in several countries. The Biden people tried to meet with the Chinese. Henry Kissinger was involved. It was Henry Kissinger's last trip to China when he's 100 years old, Maria. It was to talk about artificial intelligence limitations. So this is a very dangerous area. It's part of what would happen if Xi Jinping's next phone call is not good, if it's not helpful. Then these things that you've been talking about, especially in your Fox Nation series on funding the enemy, underwriting the adversary, those topics like taking Chinese equities off the stock market entirely, those are the big sticks that President Trump may have to start using. But right now we're in this early phase where we just don't know from phone call to phone call. Yeah. I remember one time Stuart Varney almost fainted on the set, Maria, when the stock market dropped 1,000 points, then almost 3% in a single day over trade talks and sanctions back and forth.
Yeah.
Threat hunting is proactive. It goes on the offense. It doesn't wait.
We may be in store for that in the coming year.
I want to get your take on underwriting the enemy. This is our new Fox Nation series that drops tonight. But first, Disney has just hit the tape. Let's get to Cheryl Casoni because Disney also is big reliant on China in a big way. Cheryl,
it is, particularly for the box office, which for this quarter that we're going to report on right now was actually very strong. But yes, especially with the box office situation with Disney, China is important. Disney did have a very strong quarter. They came in at $1.76. The estimate was $1.45. They beat on revenue, $24.69 billion. Moana 2, which was the big movie for them last year, actually really helped them. They are talking about a little bit of a hit from Hurricane Milton on their theme parks business, and they're also talking about streaming. Streaming was strong. They're talking about the advertisements. They built out more advertisements and password crackdowns. That actually helped on the streaming side. They're also going to be doing. They said that ESPN, the tile on the Disney Plus app is actually improving. So the situation for Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, Maria, is improving. They also said price increases actually helped revenue. The traditional TV business, that's the one kind of downside here, Maria. I will say it's down about 11% for the quarter. Back to you.
All right. The stock right now is up better than 1% on Disney on the heels of the numbers. You know, it's interesting. Michael Pillsbury with us this morning. Michael, it's been really the lawmakers to identify this bad behavior by China relative to the United States, undermining the U.S. through propaganda and through surveillance, et cetera, and intellectual property theft, not corporations. I mean, Disney has a big, business in China and relies, as Cheryl just said, on the movie-going public. And yet, this is more, in some ways, some people would say, of underwriting the enemy. We're covering the infiltration of the CCP into the United States. I've been doing so for years, and I'm breaking it down in Season 2 of my special Underwriting the Enemy, available streaming tonight on Fox Nation. Here's a preview.
And in ancient Chinese history, these great dynasties, the way you overthrow the old hegemon is you don't arouse any sense of threat in him. Literally, Wu means nothing. Wei means action, to do something. So together, the two words mean to take action without other people knowing about it. Don't do it yourself. And as Mr. Trump likes to say,
we have built China with the money we gave them.
I believe he said that to Xi Jinping, who famously did not reply.
And Michael, there you are in the special with me. Tell us more about this issue and what kind of policy out of this new administration might you expect regarding China?
Well, your special on Fox Nation, Maria, I think is coming just at the right time. President Trump and his team, after this next phone call, are going to have to review their options and how they want to conduct themselves over the coming year. If it takes as long as it did last time, we're talking about 2 years before we get a final written agreement, and lots of escalation on both sides. I noticed in the Chinese reaction, the retaliation, I noticed they're raising the issue of critical minerals. I think this is because they know this is our soft spot. It's going to really hurt our manufacturing if we can't get graphite and this long list of materials China now threatens to hold hostage. It's really bad for us. So they've got a series of sticks they can apply to America too. And worst case, I mentioned President Trump's Truth Social post 2 weeks ago. He's very positive. He says President Xi and I working together can solve many problems. He keeps using the word peace. He wants peace to come out of U.S.-China relations. This is all on the good news side. I hope that's what happens. But your special is bringing up how much we help China, even today, and especially our companies who shamelessly come to Washington and lobby on behalf of China, testing the Foreign Agents Registration Act. They should be registering that they're doing this, but they get away with it because they claim, well, this is just our opinion as companies. So we can look forward to a really rough ride over the coming year if this phone call does not go well that President Trump is waiting for.
Well, one phone call, and I don't know that President Trump is waiting for it. He just said he's not in any rush, but I mean, it all lands on one phone call?
Yes, because that will tell us what direction Xi Jinping wants to go in. He's got hardliners, as you know very well. You've covered this story a lot. If the hardliners prevail in Beijing for a relatively weak Xi Jinping, then we're really going to face a roller coaster ride. So the tone of this phone call and how Xi Jinping portrays China's intentions toward us is going to tell us a lot about the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
Maria.
it sure will. Michael,
your special is just coming at the right time.
Thank you so much, and we'll be talking with you along the way. Michael, good to talk with you. Thank you. Michael Pils.
There you have it, you guys. So now also we are hearing that this is unfolding, and like I shared with you, we had received information this morning that things have flipped with the Postal Service. They're going to be resuming accepting the packages from China and Hong Kong, as we had heard yesterday that they were going to be stopping. People were concerned about their shipments coming from China, and you can see that it has flipped. As of this morning, U.S. Postal Service flips on Hong Kong China package, lifting a ban imposed a day earlier. And take a look at this. Fast fashion, laptops, and toys, they're likely to cost more due to the U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports. These are still in place. And now also, let's talk about the breaking news coming out just in about the past hour or so. And that is, take a look at this. Representative Al Green is filing a new impeachment article against Donald Trump. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to give you this information. Now, I haven't had a chance to even review this. Just came out while we were live. Representative Al Green said on Wednesday today that he was introducing impeachment articles against Donald Trump after the president said the U.S. would take over Gaza. And if you missed it, I shared that with you live while we were we were watching the president and Benjamin Netanyahu discussing this, and he had said that they need to go ahead and get control of Gaza, help rebuild it, and maybe relocate the people, the Palestinians of Gaza as well, and maybe make something better for them in different locations so that way, you know, they don't even need to go back to Gaza, because he said the situation there is so bad. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and injustice in Gaza is a threat to justice in the United States of America, Green said in a floor speech Wednesday morning. I rise to announce that the movement to impeach the president has begun. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. The Texas Democrat launched multiple long-shot impeachment bids during Trump's first term using procedural maneuvers meant to circumvent House leadership and bypass committees. Similar to his last efforts, there's not much appetite among Democrats to impeach Trump as of yet. Asked Wednesday about Green's measure, Representative Pete Aguilar of California, the number 3 House Democrat, said it wasn't a focus for the caucus. So we're hearing that this has come out just right now, but a lot of people are saying not a big deal. We're not really too worried about it, these charges. But take a look at this. This one coming out from the Daily Mail UK. Trump slapped with his first credible impeachment threat in his second term. President Donald Trump received the first real threat of impeachment during his second term from a lawmaker on Wednesday today. Representative Al Green of Texas said the movement to impeach the president has begun. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done, he added on a House floor in remarks. The Democrat said his announcement is in response to Trump's backing of ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in Gaza, the territory out of which Hamas terrorists are operating. Trump met with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Tuesday to discuss the war, which was sparked after Hamas invaded Israel on October 7th of 2023 and conducted the largest single-day attack of Jewish people since the Holocaust. During a joint press conference, Trump said that the U.S. will move to use troops to take the war-torn Gaza Strip if necessary, as Palestinians are moved to neighboring countries. Trump insisted that it was time for a new way of thinking and promised to build the Riviera of the Middle East. And here you can see some photos from that. And it says, ethnic cleansing in Gaza is not a joke, especially when it emanates from the President of the United States. Green said of the president's bombshell comments, he added, the Prime Minister of Israel should be ashamed. Injustice in Gaza is a threat to justice in the United States of America. The progressive congressman insisted in his remarks from the floor of the House of Representatives on Wednesday morning today. Trump was twice impeached during his first term as president, but was acquitted both times. Trump was twice impeached by the then Democratic-controlled House during his first term as president. The first impeachment centered around the 2020 presidential election and claimed that there was an effort by Trump to have international entities interfere with the elections. And the second was aimed at impeaching Trump over the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot, claiming he incited the attack. He was acquitted by the Senate on both occasions. It's unclear what sort of legs Green's most recent threat holds, but with a super Republican majority, it's unlikely to go anywhere. Trump, speaking at a press conference with Netanyahu on Tuesday yesterday, reiterated his proposal to rebuild Gaza and to make it a vacation destination. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too, he said at the White House event. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous exploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site, get rid of the destroyed buildings. Trump, a property developer, has long talked up Gaza's coastal views and climate as a perfect holiday location. In his vision, U.S. reconstruction would create thousands of jobs and spare Palestinians the pain and the expenses of rebuilding once again after the territory was completely destroyed in the war with Israel. When a reporter asked if that might involve military force, Trump answered, if it's necessary. So there you have it. And again, if you missed that yesterday, I shared it with you live. We saw the footage. Now, as a result of him saying that he wants to go in, clean it up, make it a vacation destination, relocate the Palestinians, and then he said hopefully that they'll be able to create something even better for them where they wouldn't even want to go back to Gaza. He said especially in the condition it's in. With these statements, this morning we have Texas Representative Al Green on the House floor saying that he wants to impeach Trump for what he called was an ethnic cleansing claim. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. That's an interesting take on those words, in my opinion, as it sounds like Trump is trying to help the situation, trying to redevelop the area, take it from ruins and rubble, and trying to make it a better place. And he's also trying to help relocate the individuals. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But regardless, we're hearing that there is not the majority or the support in the House for Al Green's impeachment request to even go anywhere. If anything, this is just simply, in my opinion, grandstanding, trying to make a statement, knowing that this isn't going to go anywhere. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But you guys, we are hearing that this is the latest coming out today, February the 5th, 2025, as we are hearing that the U.S. Postal Service, they are back on track to go ahead and send over your Chinese shipments. They are going to be accepting them. There won't be a delay. We're hearing that that is going forward. We're still yet to see if there is going to be tariffs that are going to continue on between the U.S. and China, if they're going to reach an agreement or not to stop that, or if we could be seeing things escalate into a tariff war. And also, like I said, the breaking news coming out this morning that there are now articles of impeachment that are being put against Donald Trump from Al Green. Yet it doesn't look like this is likely going to go anywhere. And we've heard from other members of the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives that have said it's not really a top priority for the caucus. So this articles of impeachment that are being placed against Donald Trump likely going to be a huge nothing burger, but we will see. I will keep you up to date here on the channel so you know exactly what is going on. But that is the latest, you guys. Do me a favor if you haven't done so yet. If you appreciate the updates, take a second, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to stay up to date. I'll keep you up to speed on everything. These articles are going to be linked down in the description below, and I will catch you in the next one. So that is the latest, and thank you for joining me. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.